Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1683 BN. Today's date is October 7th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Hit Job Failed, New Playbook Introduced, New Deep State Narrative Coming. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the Deep State, they are reeling right now from what happened with Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh was confirmed. Their entire hit job completely failed. They're going to be introducing a new playbook, and the Deep State, they're going to have a new narrative coming soon. And Q confirms this with his post because, again, the Deep State, they just don't give up. They continually try to push their agenda until the very end. And once they have nothing left, they will push a major event. And we can see that everything that they tried has been failing left and right. I mean, they've been trying to convince us that North Korea is not denuclearizing. There's going to be no second summit. We already have Pompeo. He's meeting with Kim Jong-un in North Korea this weekend. And they're talking about discussing another summit. They're talking about denuclearization. And Kim Jong-un and Trump, they're exchanging letters explaining to each other where they are at, what their plan is, and how to combat the Deep State. This is why Kim Jong-un, after every time a mainstream media report comes out that North Korea is doing something like cyber attacks or North Korea is doing the opposite of what Trump is saying, Kim Jong-un continually comes out and backs up Trump. We see out in Afghanistan, the Afghan government is completely ruling out a privatization war in Afghanistan. Now, we know that CEO Eric Prince, he was making the rounds in the U.S., putting forth this idea that maybe we should send in paid mercenaries into Afghanistan and let the troops come home. Well, once again, why would we want to do this? This makes no sense. Why don't we get rid of the paid mercenaries that are already there, which is the Islamic State, get rid of those and make peace with the Taliban and have peace in the country instead of continually pushing war? And we see that the Afghanistan's National Security Council not only ruled out the idea, but said that they would consider such a move a violation of Afghan sovereignty. Again, there's no reason to bring in paid mercenaries. Of course, Eric Prince, he's trying to make a buck, use paid mercenaries, and keep this war going. The idea is to bring all the troops home to stop these deep state central bank wars that were started a long time ago under false pretenses. We see out in Syria, they have a no-fly zone now because they brought in the S-300 and electronic jamming equipment. And this is a major problem for Netanyahu because he was flying his fighter jets into Syria, bombing certain areas, trying to keep the war going. Once this equipment was brought in, he said he was going to be bringing in the F-35s, but we know that this is not going to work because we've seen in the past where Russia flew one of their fighter jets over an Aegis destroyer and with their electronic jamming systems brought the entire ship down and made it completely non-operational and had to be towed off in the Black Sea. The same thing would happen with the F-35s. Remember, think about this for a sec. Clinton sold the secrets to China. They know everything about our military. They know how to bring planes, ships down. They know almost everything. Russia most likely got that data also. How do you think they were able to design electronic jamming systems to bring down a ship, a destroyer? Because they knew the inner workings. And Israel is flying U.S.-made equipment. And they know how to bring this stuff down. So Netanyahu is going to be meeting with Putin soon to discuss the problem with Syria. And Putin's not going to give. And we knew eventually the S-300 would be brought into Syria. They have basically set up a shield to protect Syria now from any other invasions. And soon, as we can see it's already happening, troops will be coming out of Syria. This is the main goal. And I think it's going to happen pretty darn soon. We're getting to the point there's no reason to keep troops in Syria at all. Russia's out there saying, listen, any Idlib paid mercenaries who refuse to lay down arms and continue attacks on government forces will be arrested or eliminated. So if you don't go along with the peace deal, you are done for. Let's get into Q's posts. Q dropped some more bread. Post 2347 put up a picture of a Russian sub. Under it says double meanings exist. And it gave us a Twitter link to DEFCON alert. So Red October has multiple interpretations, and this sub is one of the stealthiest subs in the waters today, where it's very difficult to find this sub. Now, the whole point of this, and the reason why Q left off Hunt 4 and just gave us Red October, is because the mainstream media, this is part of their new narrative, the deep state's new narrative. Hunt for this sub because it's so stealthy you can't find it. So in post 2348, Q put up once again the most advanced Russian submarine, the stealthiest nuclear submarine ever to hit the seas, and under it gave us something else here, and this is from a previous post. Future news will highlight. Note the Hunt for was dropped. Details matter. Q. And under that gave us a Twitter link to CNN. But we'll go into that in just a minute. And it says, and so it begins. How do you start a war? Brackets, bold, markers, matter, playbook, brackets, all caps, fail, Q. So, for those people who don't know what the Hunt for Red October is, this is a movie made back in 1990. This is an American espionage thriller film, and it was based on Tom Clancy's 1984 bestseller, and the story is set during the late Cold War, and it involves a rogue Soviet naval captain who wishes to defect to the United States with his officers and the Soviet Navy's newest and most advanced nuclear missile submarine. An American CIA analyst correctly deduces his motive and must prove his theory to the U.S. Navy before a violent confrontation between the Soviet and the American Navy spirals out of control. So basically, they were using this kind of plot from Hunt for Red October to say that this new stealthy submarine is somewhere out in the waters or off the coast of the U.S., and we're hunting for it because Russia might use this submarine. Now, the tweet that Q put up is from CNN, and it was dated October 5th, 2018, and it says, and this is hooked to an article, it says, a top U.S. admiral warns of a Russian submarine threat. They're already starting the new narrative. That's what this is about. This is their new playbook. So Q went on to post 2349, and Q starts to explain Red October, what the double meaning really means. Now, Q put up everything that we just read. Future news will highlight. Note the Hunt for was dropped. Details matter. And basically says, and so it begins. Shows us a picture of the unauthorized missile that was fired. And this is the unauthorized emergency incoming missile threat activated in Hawaii. POTUS was on Air Force One. POTUS reroutes. Coincidence? No mainstream media investigations. Biggest threat to the American people. So we know that the Black Hats fired this missile. I mean, this was in a previous Q post. Then Q posted, post-Justice K confirmation. Russia, 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 all caps. Think UK, Australia, 2 arrows pointing to Russia, Russia, Russia. Deflect declassification. Deflect blame. Focus Russia, 3 arrows pointing to global enemy. In brackets and in bold, all caps. The Hunt for dropped. Why? When was the unauthorized missile fired? Was it found, discovered prior to Hunt? Russia sub-threat push. Red October. Double meanings exist. Q. So Q said the Hunt for was dropped and only used Red October. This part was relevant at the time. This was done so we wouldn't be looking for the sub. Now the question is why? Because the deep state, they're beginning their story. They're beginning the entire thing. Now if Q put hunt for Red October, people would be looking for a sub all over the place. And this is not what Q wanted. So Q says markers matter. The deep state, they were trying to set everything up to make their story believable. And an Anon explains what was going on here. Justice K confirmation. Once Kavanaugh is confirmed, the plan was to switch to Russia. Russia. Deflect from the declassification. They were going to say Russia attacked the U.S. Deflect the blame. Russia will get blamed for firing that missile in Hawaii. This is why markers, this is why they weren't investigating, because they were setting all of this up. The hunt for was dropped. Why? Because the sub was already found. They already know where it is. When was the unauthorized missile fired? When Air Force One was flying over G to Singapore. Was it found, discovered prior to the hunt? Yes. Was the Russia sub threat push? Yes, to deflect and blame away from the D class. So Red October was found. Double meanings exist. They will try to use Russia to blame when we find the truth about the missile coming from the D class with Russia, when we find out that it actually was from the deep state. So there's double meanings here, and they're trying to start a war. This is their new narrative. And of course, Q says they will fail. Post 2350. Q puts, look here, brackets, all bold, Russia. Do not look here, brackets, China, all caps. Gave us a link to Mike Pence talking about China. It's about 43 minutes long. Q says, worth the 43 minutes. Fake news will never report. Important to understand going forward. Facts matter. Q. I have the link on the X22 Report or on YouTube. Click on the link if you'd like to listen to the entire 43 minutes. Basically, Pence is remarking on the administration's policy towards China, that China has been stealing our secrets. China is the threat. Of course, this is the deep state within China. It is not Russia. So Q confirmed that the media and politicians are drawing our attention to perceived threats from Russia when they pose no real threat. The mainstream media and politicians are pushing the Russian narrative. But China threatens our military because they have the secrets, because Clinton allowed them to access the server and she was feeding them all this information. Post 2354. And Anon says, congratulations, Anons, Americans and patriots around the world. Big thanks to Q. Let's win those midterms. Q wrote, God bless, patriot, celebrate. This means so much. Closer than anticipated, but a win nonetheless. Red state Ds who voted no are in trouble. Q. Post 2353. Q put up a link, and this is about Christine Blasey Ford. And under it, it says, political hit by Ds, regain power by any means necessary, new narrative coming. Now, this tweet from Breaking 911 says the following. Christine Blasey Ford has no further plans to pursue her sexual misconduct allegations against Brett Kavanaugh, according to her attorneys. That's very interesting because if you look at Cosby, those women who were sexually abused, they didn't stop. But if you notice, all this is starting to go away right now because they know they don't have anything. And what they did was they used this to try to smear Kavanaugh, and it didn't work. So in post 2352, we see that Q put up a picture of protesters, and some of the signs say, come out of the closet, Lindsay, and other things. And basically, Q under this says, welcome to the Democratic Party, the party of threats, violence, intimidation, name-calling, racism, fascism, division. Hashtag walk away, hashtag vote Republican Q. And Q is showing us a close-up of the image. And really, we have to ask ourselves, what happened to the tolerance the left prides itself in, where they say that you have to be tolerant? Instead, they're calling Lindsey Graham names, telling him to come out of the closet, using other types of profanity and things like that. So we can see right now that Q is telling us that the deep state uses the Democratic Party to push their agenda. Post 2351. Q put Justice K, 3 arrows, highest court in the land, law and order, brackets, majority, brackets, U.S. Constitution, safeguarded. It was our last chance to save it, brackets, non-force. Gave us a YouTube link. And this is the link to this video will get Donald Trump elected, and it's about how he's going to take down the swamp. We've seen this many, many times before. And then Q says, think Hillary Rodham Clinton win. 2 brackets, Supreme Court appoints. 2 arrows pointing to Supreme Court corrupts. Tilt, brackets, example, Loretta Lynch, close brackets. Now comes the real pain. Now comes the real truth. Boom, 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 boom. They want you divided. Divided by race, divided by religion, divided by culture, divided by class, divided by political affiliation, divided by you are weak. Together you are strong. This movement challenges their forced narrative. This movement challenges people not simply trust, but what is being reported. Research for yourself. Think for yourself. Trust yourself. This movement is not about one person or a group of people, which I completely agree. It's about all of us. It's about everyone here in the country. We, the people. Save the republic. Hatred and dissension in the nation will heal. Where we go one, we go all. Q. Post 2355. Q put up, welcome aboard, Judge K. Under it, it says, a great day for the rule of law. Congratulations, Justice K. There is much work to be done. Today, the Republic took back control. Q+. Post 2356. Celebrate Patriots. Gave us a link to YouTube. This is the video of Reagan. Peace through strength. We've seen this before. Again, if you'd like to see this video, you can see it on the X22 Report or click the link at the bottom of this video in the description area of YouTube. Let us reaffirm America's destiny of goodness and goodwill. And that's a quote from Ronald Reagan. Q. Post 2357. Q put up, D's Playbook midterm election. We will impeach Justice K. 0 corroborating evidence and all factual witnesses provided by accuser all denied allegations. Should we take control in November? Liberal left lunacy, brackets, bait, all caps and bold. These people are evil, sick, and stupid. You are witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. Old guard, 3 arrows pointing to power to the people. Red October. Q. And Q went on to say, expect this. We will impeach Justice K. Con sold to voters by the lying D's. Brackets, all bold caps, herd the sheep. 2/3 Senate vote required to impeach Supreme Court Justice. What are the odds of that? So Deep State, they have this new playbook. It's try to impeach. They're using the smear agenda, and it was a lie. They've lost trust. So what's their chance of impeaching Kavanaugh? I would say 0 at this point. And then Q went on to tell us how the wrap-up smear campaign works with those individuals that are working with the deep state, the Democrats, and the media and the intelligence agencies. Put up a video link, and this video link is pointed to C-SPAN, and this is Pelosi. And Pelosi describes how this works. And Q wrote, wrap up smear deployed versus Justice K. The more you know, brackets, bold, archive, Q. Take a listen to Pelosi.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
So as you can see, back in 2017, Pelosi tells you how this tactic works. So Q posted 2359, reposted the same exact video, and actually says, in brackets in bold, repost, search and destroy. Wrap-up smear deployed versus Justice K. Wrap-up smear deployed versus POTUS. These people are sick. Hashtag walk away. Hashtag vote Republican. So Q added the part with POTUS, saying that this is the tactic is being used with both Justice K and POTUS. It's a wrap-up smear tactic. Post 2360. There's a picture of Hillary Rodham Clinton and this man with gray hair kissing her. And under it says R.E. Robert Byrd, KKK member. From my first day in the Senate, I sought out his guidance, and he was always generous with his time and his wisdom. And as Secretary of State, I continue to rely on his advice and counsel. Hillary Clinton, 2008. So she was taking advice from Robert Byrd, KKK member. Then Q put under this a quick history lesson. 13th Amendment abolished slavery. 100% Republican support, 23% Democratic support. Then said 14th Amendment gave citizenship to freed slaves. 94% Republican support, 0% Democratic support. 15th Amendment right to vote for all. 100% Republican support, 0% Democratic support. Under it, it says unplug from fake news. Brackets, bold, all caps, false reality. Under it, it says in bold, caps, in brackets, propaganda arm of D Party. Think for yourself. Research for yourself. Trust yourself. Find the truth. Don't be a pawn in their sick game. Q. So we can see that the deep state, they are not finished. They have new playbooks. They're coming up with a new narrative. They know the D class is coming, and it's coming very, very soon. And they're preparing for it. And we can see that Q is telling us that they know exactly what their playbook is and what they're going to try to do to blame the D class on the Russians, to blame the D class on other individuals. And of course, they're trying to do whatever they possibly can because they know they can't fight against the truth. So what they have to do is they have to shift everyone to someplace else and make them believe the propaganda that they're trying to sell. It doesn't work when you have the facts. And I believe Q is telling us we have the facts, we have the D class, we have the evidence, and their new playbook, their new narrative is going to fail. Let's move on to post 2361. Q put up the American flag, and below it, it says, in quotes, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed for them to do the same. Or one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. Ronald Reagan. Below this, Q says in all bold caps, brackets, Boom Week. Q. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.